Hello, I'm Adrian, and today I've got a fingerstyle blues piece for you, loosely in the style of Robert Johnson, though I'm not going to claim that it's particularly authentic in that respect. It's more intended as an approachable beginner's fingerstyle blues piece. Lots of fun to play, and I think even if you're not particularly into blues or particularly into fingerstyle guitar, it still might be nice to have a go at this piece. It's always good to have a few of those self-contained, self-accompanying pieces for when you find yourself playing on your own. So I've described this piece as an easy fingerstyle blues. Always slightly annoys me when people describe things as easy and then you try playing it and it turns out to be quite tricky. So I'm not going to claim that this piece will be without its difficulties if you've never tried playing this style of blues fingerstyle before, but I hope that with a little bit of effort most of you should be able to get it together. So let me show you how it's done. So we're dealing with the blues in A here. There's a little introduction and then two 12-bar choruses. And this particular type of blues fingerstyle is what some people refer to as steady thumb or steady bass fingerstyle. You might have noticed that throughout that piece my thumb was just playing a single note, 4 beats to the bar throughout the piece, holding down the root note of whatever chord I happened to be on, and then the fingers on top of that were playing a kind of accompaniment pattern or a little melody on top. So I think the key to unlocking this particular piece and this particular style is going to be just maintaining that steady thumb. That's what holds everything down, and then you're going to need to develop a degree of independence with your fingers on top of that. So before we even get into the piece, I thought it might be worth just doing a little exercise to work on developing that kind of a skill. So one thing you could do, perhaps hold down a familiar first position chord. I'm just going for this A7 chord here, and my thumb is going to be playing the root note of that chord on the A string, and then I'm going to allocate one of my fingers to each of the next strings. So my index finger is going to play the D string, my second finger is going to play the G string, and my ring finger is going to play the B string. So you've got that kind of arrangement with the thumb and fingers of your picking hand. And you might like to start by just playing that thumb note. 4 notes to the bar, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I like to add a little bit of palm muting to the thumb when I'm playing in this kind of style, just to muffle the bass and give it that nice thump. So that's something you might like to try as well. So once you've got the thumb going, you can try adding the fingers. So I'm going to play all 3 fingers together, and you'll find that the fingers are either going to fall at the same time as the thumb note or in between thumb notes. So to start with, we could just place the fingers on beat 1 at the same time as the thumb, so we're kind of pinching both of those together, and let's just play it on the first beat of the bar to start with. That would sound like this. We'd have 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fingers and thumb are pinching together on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could try playing on beat 1 and 3 with the fingers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or on every beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's where the fingers and the thumb are pinching together at the same time. You can get the fingers to fall in between the thumb beats, so that would mean that they're falling on the upbeat. So that would sound like this. You'd have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. The thumb and then fingers, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then you could try putting that together. You could play thumb and fingers on the beat and then just fingers on the offbeat, and you get that nice bluesy swinging shuffle kind of sound. That would go like this. You'd have that's thumb and fingers together on the beat, and then just the 3 fingers on the upbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then sometimes in the course of this piece I'm playing triplets with the fingers. So that would sound like this. I'm going to play my thumb and fingers together, and then the fingers are going to play twice. So you'd have 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and So that's triplets, and then of course you could try mixing some of those rhythms up. So. So there are just a few ideas, just some things you could try just to get comfortable with the kind of things that are going on in this piece if you've never tried playing this kind of thing before. So let's get down to the specifics of this piece then, and we're going to start with the introduction, which goes like this. Very typical Robert Johnson introduction, this one, and let me take you through how it's done. I should let you know that there will be full music and tab to this piece up on my website, completely free, so there'll be a link underneath this video, so check that out. It might make things a bit easier if you can follow along by looking at that as I explain it to you. So we're going to start with this. The steady thumb is going to be playing the A string. It's just going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the top 3 strings I'm playing this chord shape here, which you might like to see as a kind of a D7 chord moved higher up the neck. It's that same configuration of fingers. I'm playing the 9th fret on the G, 8 on the B, 9 on the high E, and that in fact makes it an A7 chord. So I'm playing those 3 notes together with the thumb on the first beat, and then on the upbeat I'm just playing the fingers, so 1 and then I'm going to do that again, 1 and 2 and then I'm just going to move the 3 fingers 1 fret lower and do the same thing. The thumb is staying on that A bass. I'm going to move the fingers down 1 more fret. I'm going to go 1 and 2. I'm not going to play the upbeat with the fingers there. I'm actually going to come down and play the 2nd fret on the B string, and then I'm going to play the 5th fret on the high E string together with the A thumb. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and then we're into the classic Robert Johnson turnaround that goes like this. You'll hear Robert Johnson doing a similar turnaround on quite a few of his recordings. And what's going on here is we've got a descending chromatic line on the D string. So I'm playing with the thumb 5, 4, 3 and 2. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm maintaining the same note on the high E string, this A note here, the 5th fret on the high E string, and I'm going. So I'm playing, pinching thumb and finger together on the beat, and then just finger on the offbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. So it doesn't particularly matter which finger you use for the high E string there. I probably vary what I use myself, so whatever you're comfortable with. And then we're finishing off the introduction. We're going to fall into an E7 chord shape here. So just an open E chord, but I'm playing the D note at the 3rd fret on the B string. I'm going to play with a finger the 3rd string, and then I'm going to play the open low E and high E together, and then I'm going to play with a finger the 3rd fret on the B string, and then just 2 thumb notes. So it's you may be asking yourself, well, if I'm not actually playing some of the notes in this chord, then why am I holding down the complete chord shape? And the answer is you don't have to hold down the complete chord shape, but I recommend it really, because in fingerstyle it's often feels smoother to me to actually hold down familiar chord shapes, even if you're not playing all of the notes in the chord. And it's also a good kind of insurance against sort of inaccuracies with your picking hand. You know, you might get a bit more vigorous with your with your picking hand and hit strings accidentally, and if you're holding down a chord shape, it means that the notes you accidentally hit are going to be some of the right notes. So that's the introduction. Let me just play it slowly one more time. We've got then we're at the start of the first 12-bar blues chorus, and that starts out like this. So fairly straightforward really. That thumb is just plugging away on that open A string throughout that, just on the beat. And the chord shape I'm holding down is this one here. It's the 5th fret on the D, 6th fret on the G, and 5th fret on the B. And that actually gives us an A7 kind of a sound. The open A string is the root there. If you've not played that chord before, it's quite a nice one, works very well on fingerstyle guitar. You might recognise it as being kind of the inside part of this A7 bar chord. We're just holding down those middle notes from that chord shape. So that's going to be our starting shape here for the A7 chord, the 1 chord in the 12-bar blues, and we're going to do this. So on beat 1 I'm playing the thumb and fingers together, and then on the upbeat of 1 I'm just playing the fingers. So it's 1 and 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to move that chord shape 1 fret lower, and going to do the same thing, and then I'm going to move it back up again, and then back down and back up, down, up. So lots of just movement with that same chord shape. So one more time, we've got down, up, down, up, down, up. So on that last bar there, it's going to be thumb and fingers together, then thumb and fingers together again, and then just the fingers on the upbeat of 2, and then thumb on 3 and 4. So 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and... So that's what's happening in the first 4 bars on the 1 chord, the A7 chord. Then we're going to go to the 4 chord, which in a 12-bar blues in A is going to be a D of some kind, or a D7, and the particular form of D7 I'm using is this one. Very useful way of playing D7 on fingerstyle acoustic. I'm actually got the F sharp in the bass, which is the 3rd of a D7 chord, so I'm playing the 2nd fret on the low E string. I'm just muting the A string, and I've got an open D, I've got the 2nd fret on the G, and then with my index finger I'm playing the C at the 1st fret on the B string. So you could include the F sharp at the 2nd fret on the top string, but I'm not actually using that note for this piece, so I'm not going to bother holding that note down. So that's the chord shape we're going to hold down, and we're going to play this right hand or picking hand pattern. Once again, the thumb is just playing that steady bass, 4 beats to the bar, and we're going to go thumb, then we're going to pluck the G string with the finger, and then it's going to be thumb and B string together, then we've got G string, then thumb and B string together, then just the B string on its own, then the thumb, and then the G string. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and kind of thing is slightly hard to explain. It's probably easier just to try and pick this up by ear, or you might like to just look at the music and the tab, and on the tab you can kind of see where the thumb notes align with the finger notes, which means you're pinching them together, or where you've got a finger note that falls in between the thumb notes, usually on an upbeat. So we've got and then in the next bar there's a kind of variation on that, which is this. So we've got thumb and B string, then the G on its own, thumb and B together, then B string on its own, and then 2 thumb notes. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And if we put those 2 bars together, it sounds like this. Then we're back to the 1 chord, and we're just going to do exactly the same thing that we did before with this little A7 shape. Just moving that up and down exactly as we did in bars, what did that be, bars 3 and 4 of the 12. Now we're going to hit the 5 chord, which is going to be in E7, and that's what I'm going to play here. I've got the thumb, then I'm playing the G string, which is holding down. I'm holding down the 1st fret on the G, and then I've got the thumb and the B string together, then the G string, then the thumb and the B string together, B string on its own, and then the thumb. So 1 and 2. Then we're going to go to the D, the 4 chord again, the D with the F sharp in the bass. Again, the thumb is just playing the F sharp 4 to the bar, and we've got the thumb and the B, the G on its own, thumb and the B, B string again, thumb, thumb, 1. So the 5 to the 4 chord together. Then we're into the turnaround again. So we're just going to hit the A string and then turn around exactly like in the introduction. And that's the end of the first 12-bar chorus. So on into the second chorus, which is fairly similar to the first. I'm just throwing in a few variations here. So it starts off like this. So instead of playing the one called the A7 at the 5th fret, I'm actually playing this A7 up here, which is the same as shape that we had in the introduction. So I'm playing that on beat 1, 1 and 2, 3, 4, moving it down 1 fret, and then I'm sliding up to the 6th fret on the G on beat 1. And then on the and of 1, I'm playing the 5th fret on the top string. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is another Robert Johnson move here. We're kind of playing an A chord, which I'm barring with my index finger at the 2nd fret. And I'm also stretching out to play this A note here at the 5th fret on the top string. It's just an alternative way of playing an A chord. Some people call this the long A. And what we're doing is we're playing that chord on beat 1, and then we're just taking the top note down 1 fret at a time to arrive at this A7 shape. So we've got 1, 2 and 3, 4. So we're pinching the thumb and fingers on beat 1, then we just move down to the 4th fret, thumb and fingers, and then just 3 fingers on the top strings on the upbeat of 2, and then 2 thumb notes. So 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1. then we hit the 4 chord, and this is much the same as before. The only difference is I'm just throwing in this 3rd fret note on the B string a couple of times, just to add a little bit of variation. So instead of playing that B string twice, that C note twice, I'm going C to D instead. And then in the 2nd bar it's C, A, D, C, rather than C, A, C, C. It's just adds a little bit of variation. Back to the 1 chord, again I'm playing it up here. And some more variations here. I'm playing this A7 chord on beat 1, moving it down 1 fret, and then on beat 1 of the next bar, a triplet, so 1 and a 2. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2. And you've got some options here as to how you approach this with the right hand. You can just use 3 fingers on top. I've got a feeling that a lot of blues players, possibly Robert Johnson as well, would sometimes play it like this. So instead of playing with 3 fingers, they might be brushing those 3 strings with 1 finger. Which just has a slightly different feeling. I quite like that. Sometimes I will do that if I just want to dig in and play with a little bit more attitude and a bit less precision. So so nearly at the end now. We're going to hit the 5 chord, and that's the same as before, and then to the 4 chord. Again, I'm just throwing in that D note momentarily there as a variation, and a little ending. Which goes something like that. So it starts off with our turnaround lick. Then I've got an open top string, and then I'm playing the 2nd fret on the top string together with the thumb, pulling off with my 2nd finger to the open top string, and then ending on a A7 chord. So and that's about it. So what I just want to do then is just give you a slow playthrough of the entire piece, just so you can see up close exactly what's going on. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there we are. That's trying to play it exactly as written. Once you get comfortable with it, you'll find that you can throw in some little embellishments and variations. I mean, some obvious things to do might be just to throw in a few slides and things into some of these chord shapes. So, or as I say, being a bit looser with your right hand, using a few more of these brushing techniques, maybe snapping some of the strings a little bit just to give it a bit more attitude. So there we have it. I hope you have a lot of fun learning to play this piece. If you've not already done so, you might like to check out my website, where, as I said, you'll be able to find the free music and tab to this particular piece, as well as plenty of other fingerstyle blues lessons and tons of other lessons in various different styles as well. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.